Rain hits the pavement in the middle of the night. A black car stops outside a quiet house. A group of armed men step out, laughing, careless, confident. The door crashes open. Glass breaks. A man falls to the floor as fists and boots hit him again and again. A small puppy cries in the corner. Seconds later, the room goes silent. The men walk away with a stolen car and the broken belief that the man they left behind is nothing special. They laugh because they think he is weak. They think they humiliated an ordinary man. But what they don't know is that the man on that floor is the same man whose name once made entire rooms fall silent. The man they just disrespected is John Wick. And the moment disrespect appears is always the moment the world is about to learn a painful lesson. Respect between men rarely disappears suddenly. It fades quietly, almost invisibly. A man speaks and no one listens the way they once did. Someone interrupts him without hesitation. A joke at his expense gets louder laughter than it should. The shift is subtle, but it is powerful. Psychologists studying masculine identity have often pointed out that respect in social groups is closely tied to emotional control and perceived competence. When a man reacts too quickly, explains himself too often, or allows others to dictate his emotional state, people subconsciously begin to rank him lower in the social hierarchy. It is not always cruel or intentional. It is simply human psychology. The moment a man appears predictable or easily shaken, the room starts to test him, and the more he reacts, the more that respect quietly slips away. In the criminal world where John Wick built his reputation, respect followed a different rule, but the psychology behind it was exactly the same. Wick was known not because he talked loudly or tried to intimidate people. He was known because he never needed to. Stories about him traveled through the underworld like warnings. He was described as the man you send to kill the boogeyman, someone whose discipline and precision turned him into a living consequence. The fear surrounding him was not built in a single moment of violence. It was built through years of consistent behavior. Every action was calculated, every movement efficient, every emotion controlled. That kind of discipline slowly transforms into something more powerful than intimidation. It becomes reputation. And reputation is the invisible force that shapes how people treat a man long before he says a word. The men who broke into Wick's house did not understand reputation. They saw a quiet man living alone. They saw grief after the death of his wife. They saw someone who had stepped away from a dangerous life. In their minds, that meant weakness. What they failed to see was that stepping away from violence requires far more strength than living inside it. But the world often mistakes calmness for softness. That mistake happens everywhere. In workplaces, in relationships, in friendships, people test the man who seems too quiet or too patient. They push a little further each time, waiting to see whether there will be consequences. Most men respond by arguing, shouting, or desperately trying to defend themselves. Ironically, those reactions often destroy the very respect they are trying to protect. John Wick's reaction was different. The night those men killed the last living connection he had to his wife, something ancient woke up inside him. He did not run through the streets shouting for revenge. He did not beg anyone to understand his pain. Instead, he did something much more terrifying. He returned to discipline. He opened the basement floor and revealed the hidden weapons from a life he had once left behind. In that moment, the world slowly remembered who he really was. One of the most famous reactions came from a Russian crime boss who learned that his own son had attacked Wick. Instead of defending his son, he struck him and asked a single question: "Do you have any idea what you've done?" That response revealed something powerful about respect. True reputation travels faster than explanation. When people know what a man is capable of, he rarely needs to prove it again. Books about power and social psychology often describe reputation as the foundation of influence. Robert Greene wrote that reputation is the cornerstone of power because it shapes expectations before a person even acts. When a man builds a reputation for discipline, consistency, and calm control under pressure, people begin to treat him differently. They hesitate before challenging him. They think carefully before disrespecting him. But the opposite is also true. When a man repeatedly reacts emotionally, tolerates disrespect, or avoids responsibility, his reputation begins to shrink. The world gradually decides he is safe to ignore, and once that belief spreads, recovering respect becomes extremely difficult. John Wick's story shows what happens when reputation collides with relentless pressure. When a bounty is placed on his head, assassins from every corner of the world begin hunting him. The interesting part is not just the violence that follows, but the way other characters react to him. Even killers who want the money pause before attacking. They measure the risk. They study his movements. Many of them know the same thing. The most dangerous man is not the one screaming threats across the room. The most dangerous man is the one who stays calm when everyone else panics. That calmness signals something deeper than confidence. It signals control. Control is the psychological core of masculine respect. Studies of leadership and dominance repeatedly show that individuals who maintain emotional stability during conflict are perceived as more capable and trustworthy. People naturally gravitate toward the person who remains steady when pressure rises. That stability becomes even more powerful when combined with visible competence. In Wick's world, competence means surviving impossible fights, moving with mechanical precision, and adapting to every situation without losing focus. Each challenge he survives strengthens the myth surrounding him. The myth grows until his enemies begin to fear the idea of him as much as the man himself. What separates men who collapse from men who transform is how they respond to that pressure. Throughout Wick's battles, his body shows the cost of survival. Bruises spread across his ribs. Blood stains his suit. Every movement becomes heavier, slower, more painful. Yet he continues forward with the same quiet focus that built his reputation in the first place. Philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche argued that strength grows from resistance and suffering. According to that idea, struggle is not the opposite of growth, but the very process that creates it. Wick embodies this principle completely. Every enemy forces him to adapt. Every injury tests his will. Instead of weakening his identity, the pressure sharpens it. Eventually, the story reaches a moment that feels almost symbolic. Standing on a staircase after a long and brutal journey, Wick faces one final confrontation. The physical exhaustion is obvious. His breathing is heavy, his movements slower than before. Yet something about him remains unshaken. The men around him understand that defeating him physically may still be possible, but breaking his spirit is not. That realization is where true respect lives. It is not admiration for strength alone. It is recognition of endurance. But the opposite path also exists. Respect can be rebuilt through consistency, discipline, and quiet strength. When a man focuses on improving his skills, controlling his reactions, and setting clear boundaries, people begin to notice the change. Conversations shift. Reactions change. The same people who once ignored him begin to treat him differently, not because he demanded respect, but because he became someone whose behavior naturally commands it. The image of John Wick walking through chaos without losing control captures this idea perfectly. The world around him is loud, violent, unpredictable, yet he moves through it with calm precision. That calmness is what separates him from everyone else. It is the reason his enemies fear him and the reason his allies trust him. In the end, The lesson hidden inside the story is simple but powerful. Respect is not something a man can beg for or force. It is something he earns slowly through discipline, resilience, and the quiet confidence that no matter how difficult the situation becomes, he will not break.